Hey, folks, look at that. We're back again. He's Tony.
He's the law.
And we are here to talk about Wrestlemania. Before we kick off with that, Tony, what you drinking?
Today, I have Bullet Bourbon, 10 years old.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Today, I have the Elijah Craig Small Batch. It is 94 proof Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. All right, let's dig into this. Salud, my friend.
Salute. Here's to you.
All right. So we're just going to go through the card. Let's start. Night one. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defeated the Kabuki Warriors.
Oh boy, yeah. These guys always have great matches. All four of these girls are great. The Kabuki Warriors didn't realize what to do on how to wrestle without playing to a crowd and started wandering around with their arms up in the air, screaming and babbling. But other than that, the match was fine, I guess. It was fine. It was very uneventful to me, just kind of blah first match.
I actually liked it as an opening WrestleMania match. Alexa Bliss very quietly has become one of the best workers in that women's division. She really does a good job. There were actually some spots where she was carrying Kairi Sane. And that's my one big issue from the moment they were introduced. Kairi Sane looked like she was checked out in this match. Other than that, I liked it. I think it makes sense to have Bliss and Cross go over here because the Kabuki Warriors can be split up and they're better singles performers. And Bliss always works best when she's got some muscle to push around. And rather than like big, strong Nia Jax muscle, now they've got her with crazy Nikki Cross muscle. Works.
Yeah, that works for me. And I also I'm a big Asuka fan, and I really want to see her back on the singles market as soon as possible. I think she got such a raw deal with her last time with Charlotte, but it's fine, great, and a solid opening match, I would say for sure.
All right, so then we have Elias defeating King Corbin. What'd you think of this?
King Puxatawny Corbin. This was just a blah match. There was really nothing behind this. My problem with this was the build up to the match where Elias was thrown, I don't know, what was it, 600 feet in the air? He was thrown off of something. Less than a week prior to this, he comes back. And I know there's suspension of disbelief that you're supposed to have. He wasn't even selling that he fell off of a monumental structure less than a week ago. He basically put what amounted to a giant Band-Aid on his shoulder and just left it at that. And I think the match suffered greatly for it. I think that him coming up from behind with an injury would have made it a lot more meaningful, but as it was just a plug-and-play kind of standard okay wrestling match.
One thing I got to mention about this one, my favorite part of the match was the referee, Jessica Carr. You hear so much in these WrestleMania matches that you never would have heard before. Just the way that she's shouting at Corbin, like.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was fun. She was the only ref that actually commanded the ring and gave the impression that a referee gave a damn at any point about anything. So, tip of the cap there. It was good stuff. All right, next, Becky Lynch defeats Shayna Baszler. A lot of people thought that Baszler was going to go over Lynch here, but they I was one of them. I thought they were gonna move Lynch on, but no, they let Lynch go over. She's now been the Raw Women's Champion for over a year.
Yeah, man, and this match was just fantastic. And a lot of people, when I talk to people about wrestling, they know that I have more of an old school mentality about it, and they always want to know what that means and what that entails. And it's usually in the little things, man. Like I just remembered that Baszler had Lynch on the outside of the ring, and she's about to set her up to do that shtick where she grabs her by the legs like she's going to turn her over and do the Boston Crab, but instead she just picks her up and slams her into the announce table. and you see Becky Lynch like looks up, sees it's going to happen, and then comes up with a reasonable counter for it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's not two people trying to cooperate to make a move look really good. It's two people fighting and looking like they're opposing one another and trying to thwart everything the other one's trying to do to them. So the match was just so good. And as far as the finish goes, I don't think that Baszler needed to go over. Although I did like that plan that you hashed out for Lynch going over to SmackDown, but Baszler getting beaten the way she did, like a real quick, like I tricked you kind of thing. I really would have liked to see her get heat after the match and just go ballistic and just tear down Lynch and just rip into Lynch. Maybe have a couple of people come from the back and pull that Baszler off of her or something like that, just to keep her really strong. And I would imagine this feud is going to continue. Yeah, so why not? Why not get her out of there looking like a monster?
Yeah, well, I'm sure the feud will continue, and I'm very much looking forward to it because, like you said, this was a fantastic match. A+ on that one. All right, so then Sami Zayn defeats Daniel Bryan.
I really, really, really love the chicken heel stuff that Sami Zayn was doing at the beginning. I don't think I've seen that since like the early 90s. Where he let the guy refuse. Macho Man Randy Savage was a very good WWF example when he was a heel, always jumping out of the ring and running around the ring, and I just thought that was so awesome.
This was also the first match where there was a lot of talking, and like I said earlier, there's no crowd, so you hear everything, and I thought that actually helped a lot. I liked hearing what Daniel Bryan was saying. When you watch these things on, traditional pay-per-views, with an audience and stuff like that, it just kind of looks like they're mouthing things at each other, and actually getting to hear what they're saying. In this particular match, it helped. I think this match was actually better for the venue in which they were forced to perform it. I haven't seen the shows in a little while, and I definitely haven't seen Sami Zayn recently. I listened to other reviews. I listened to some of the promos, and I know he's a fantastic promo worker. I hadn't seen his appearance and the way they're presenting him. He looks a lot like Fidel Castro. And the group he's in charge of is the Artist Collective. Like, they're making him out to be a commie heel.
Yeah, they are. And which, by the way, doesn't match his entrance music. I don't know what the hell that was, but oh my God.
Yeah.
That was jarring. That was jarring.
Yeah, while we're there, I mean, they thought enough. Seth Rollins switches his gimmick to the Monday Night Messiah, and you know what? Burn It Down would probably still have worked okay if he tweaked his entrance, but they changed it all entirely. Meanwhile, they're leaving Sami Zayn, who's now basically Fidel Castro with the same,
It's kind of weird, but I do like what you said about the talking in the match, and I think, and you said, this match worked better for the venue than if it would have had there been, a stadium full of people, and I think that's a credit to Zayn and Bryan. I don't think that they necessarily had a better match because of the circumstances. I think both of them knew what to do given the circumstances. These are two guys that have been doing this a very long time now, and not necessarily trained in the performance center, where it's kind of like a factory. These guys are just like, all right, there's no crowd here. You could clearly see the difference in some of the people who didn't know how to not play to the crowd because that's what they were trained to do. Whereas two guys like this were just like, there's no crowd here, so let's do something else. How about we just yell at each other?
You're absolutely right. You can tell the difference between people that have been in this situation before, guys that have grown up in the business, going to empty high school gyms and whatnot, as opposed to the people that were just, blessed with the golden touch from Vince and moved over to the Performance Center. Anyway, so thoroughly entertaining match, if not a little weird. We move on.
Zayn went over, by the way. So Sami Zayn wins, and I thought that was the right thing to do.
This next match was so good. Like, just the action in the ring, the work was so good. I loved the finish, but just saying what it was pains me because this was essentially a triple threat match between 3 singles competitors for the tag team belt.
Oh, God.
So John Morrison beats Jimmy Uso and Kofi Kingston. And I love the finish here. This is something that I hadn't seen. And anytime you show me something new and it doesn't make me angry, I'm going to go along with it. You know, they're the 3 of them are at the top of the ladder fighting, and of course it's the belt on a hanger, and Kingston and Uso knock Morrison off, and they have the hanger in their hands, and they're pulling it from each other, and they look down, and the belt's not there. And what I love the most about this is when I watched it live, it fooled me too.
Yeah, it did fool me as well. I didn't see that happening. I thought the finish was really good for a ladder match. The concept of the 3 of them, the 3 singles competing for the tag team championships. Look, ladder matches are already played out enough. And then you introduce something as ridiculous as that. I mean, they might as well just put the Raw Women's Championship up there, for crying out loud. What are they? Hey, and ladder matches can be great. And we've seen plenty of examples over the past 25 years of that. But why do they need 75 ladders? Oh, my God.
I have
one ladder. One ladder. That's all you need. One ladder, and then have some backups in case they smash it.
The 2 big moments in this match had nothing to do with multiple ladders. First of all, you've got Kofi and Morrison flying Hurricane Rana onto and off of the ladder. That was insane. Yeah. And almost immediately they follow it up. For the sake of my heart, I wish they would have spaced this out a little bit more, but almost immediately they follow it up. Morrison tightrope walks on the top rope, grabs Kofi, and they pull off a Spanish fly. It was duet gymnastics. It was a thing of beauty. I was really impressed. Jimmy Uso had one of the lines of the night. Again, you could hear everything they're saying. And he bashes Kofi in the face with the ladder and yells, "Flatten your face like a pancake, boy." It was great.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was great. If the premise behind this match hadn't been so astronomically stupid, it would have been a 3.5 out of 4-star match. As is, I got to rate it a little bit lower than that just because of how idiotic it is that, there are tag team guys that are fighting for singles. If the guys were gonna. If that would happen, I don't know what happened because Vince McMahon doesn't acknowledge shortcomings of anything. He doesn't. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. What do you mean? Nothing to see here. These 3 guys that's fine. But if you knew that other members of the team couldn't make it, whether it was one of the teams or all 3 of the teams, then just change the stipulation of the match. You could have very easily made it a match, put something symbolic up there, and just make it a match that the winner, get something else, or make it a number 1 contenders match and all right, Morrison, you don't have to defend anymore, but put somebody else in there and make it a number 1 contenders match and put another team in there or another guy from another team in there. Something. But having 3 guys fighting over the tag team championship belts it really did knock it down a couple of pegs. Just based on that alone. That's crazy. So next, officially on the books, we have a DQ followed by another match set up immediately where Kevin Owens defeats Seth Rollins.
The DQ ending and restarting the match seemed really silly to me. And I think my suspicion is that Kevin Owens really just wanted to jump off the WrestleMania sign, and they couldn't figure out how to make that happen in a regular match without him getting counted out. So he was just like, how about we just have a match and I demand we restart it so I can jump off the sign.
Well, as the story goes, believe it or not, that spot is the backup spot because it had been in the works for a little over a year. They announced that WrestleMania is going to be in Tampa, Kevin Owens apparently went there either to scout or for a football game or something, and he's looking at the pirate ship. This is a true story. He's looking at the pirate ship, and he says, at WrestleMania, I have to jump off that pirate ship. So that's where this all came from. I bet we would have seen exactly the same if it were in the stadium at Tampa. So yeah, the plan had been all along that he was going to do this. I just imagine it would have seemed even more absurd because that pirate ship is at the end of a group of stands in a football stadium in one of the end zones. So imagine this. They would have had to make it from the ring on the 50-yard line all the way up to the top bleacher sections of an end zone of an NFL stadium.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
man.
Well, yeah, that would have had to be one of those like falls count anywhere in the arena type of matches or something.
Right.
That's what they would have had to do in order to get that done. But as it was, I guess, I think that's the extent of the thought that went into this. I got to jump off of something really high up. We can't justify it in a regular match. So why don't we just do a restart after a DQ and then I'll be able to do my acrobatics. All in all, other than that, the match was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty solid work from these guys all the time. God, they got to take Rollins off of being a heel. He is so horrible as a heel. He's just so whiny, and he's not whiny in the way a heel should be whiny. He's whiny in the way your teenager that you just punished is whiny, and
Rollins is a problem no matter where you put him, man. That's the thing. Because he comes across as whiny every time he opens his mouth. And look, Seth, if you're listening to this, why? But beyond that, if you're listening to this, sure, you're a great guy. I've heard plenty of interviews where he just comes across very natural, but his wrestling personas always come across as whiny, whether he's a face or a heel. But you also can't make him like the guy that everybody loves to see get beat up because he's too good.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do with Seth Rollins, and I'll give him this credit. They're throwing things to the wall and seeing what sticks. I don't think Monday Night Messiah is sticking. I think they got to move off of that. That being said, they wrestled a great match because they're both great workers. You take all the extra hoopla out of it, it's still a fun wrestling match to watch.
Yeah. No complaints about the work, that's for sure. Just a good match.
All right, so then we have Braun Strowman defeating Goldberg for the Universal Championship.
Braun Strowman sounds like Goro from Mortal Kombat. I'm sorry. I had watched the movie version of Mortal Kombat like a week ago, and he that scream is the exact scream that Goro does after he kills the guy and Shang Tsung takes his soul. All right. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the match. I just thought that was interesting.
So, as far as this match goes, anyone that thought it would be anything different than what it was probably dreaming too much. And I put myself in that vein. And I'm not talking about who goes over, because honestly, Strowman going over, I think, surprised both of us. Because I really thought they were going to hold on to this and just let Goldberg lose to Reigns or whatever. But I had dreams and delusions that they could get a good match out of Goldberg. They knew better. All power to them. They were smart about this. This was basically just spamming finishing moves until someone gave in. Goldberg got his spears in. Braun got his slams in, and Braun ends up winning. Done and over.
Yeah, I really think that Vince McMahon did this to punish Roman Reigns for not showing up to WrestleMania. Because it's been well documented that Vince McMahon has been cheesed about this entire thing. Like he's like Dana White from the UFC. He doesn't believe in this. Like he doesn't believe that this is actually a problem. And I really think he's just telling Roman, all right, fine, I'm going to put it on the next guy. But because if you still have plans for Roman Reigns, then this was not a logical thing to do. It just doesn't really make any sense to me why you would take it off of Goldberg. You have such a good story with Reigns coming back and COVID-19 taking his opportunity away from him, and you could have made such a great deal out of it. Now instead you got a giant who just got beat by the chicken heel for the Intercontinental belt, just comes back and destroys Goldberg and takes the Universal title. Cheapens the Universal title, cheapens anything that you could do with Roman Reigns moving from here. Wow. To me, it's just completely wrong.
Yeah. Well, what they've decided to do, and this is as of SmackDown last night, is Bray Wyatt's now coming after Braun. Bray's line for this is basically, hey, that belongs to me. I want it back. And he's doing all the cool Bray Wyatt promo stuff. It was actually it was a cool moment. I don't know what they're going to do here because you can't have one of these guys go over the other clean. They're your two monsters.
Well, it's a good time to have Roman Reigns come back into the picture and start sticking his nose in because he obviously feels like it belongs to him too. So there's plenty of ways out of it. Will Vince allow any of the logical things to play out? Probably not. Strowman might power slam Bray twice and pin him and scream like Goro and walk out of the ring, and then then next week we'll see another Firefly Funhouse where we're meant to try to take this guy seriously.
All right, which brings us to the end of the evening. Oh, at some point, I guess I should also mention Rob Gronkowski was there too. At some point, R-Truth ran into the middle of Gronk and Mojo Rawley, and R-Truth is just telling them how it's not safe for him out here. And I was sitting there at home going, yeah, R-Truth, it's not. You have no reason to be there except to advance this 24/7 storyline. So get to getting pinned already. I'll say it a million times. I know kayfabe's dead and all that, but why the hell would R-Truth even leave his house?
Exactly. That's why That's why the 24/7 championship is so stupid. There's no reason for anybody to be anywhere.
Wouldn't this be the perfect time for there to be a whole bunch of promos that R-Truth puts out, announcing that he's like the longest ever title holder for the 24/7 championship, and just start bragging up about that? I mean, they'd be stupid, but they'd be funny. And he could do this. He could do it from his home. He could do it from the toilet for all I care. That'd be hilarious.
I can't even believe I'm playing party to this, but really, it's beyond all hope anyway. So what you do is you have him be the WWE's ambassador to the whole stay-at-home public service announcement.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. You have him telling everybody, seriously, stay at home. Don't come anywhere near my home. Stay in your home. Don't go anywhere in public. And just put a spin of he doesn't want to lose his title to anybody on it, but also a message that everybody should be staying in their house and washing their hands. So,
that's brilliant.
If we're going to go to hell, we may as well do it, intelligently.
All right. So first of all, that's freaking brilliant. Kudos to you, my friend. Raising the glass to you right now. I love that. So he's now there with Rob Gronkowski, who all of a sudden, I guess Rob has always wanted to be the 24/7 champion.
It's been his lifelong dream.
So all of a sudden, Rob Gronkowski unleashes easily the worst chop you could ever imagine. If you didn't see this and you're just listening to us, I promise you it looks worse than you're imagining. And R-Truth sells the hell out of it, goes down, and Gronk goes for also a terrible-looking cover, which you might ask, how can you make a cover look bad? Well, I guess when your job for 20 years or 15 years or whatever was to avoid hitting the ground at all costs, you look really bad when you try to lay on top of another human being. To which Mojo Rawley, thankfully throws Gronk off of him, pins R-Truth, and now Mojo Rawley is the 24/7 champion. When we talk about night 2, we got to revisit this, unfortunately. But in the moment, I was actually happy they didn't put the belt on Gronk.
You know what? I cannot have an opinion on the 24/7 championship. so bad. It's so bad. It's so stupid.
All right, that brings us to the last match of night one. I know we're both going to have a lot to say about this. This was the infamous Boneyard match. We said before we had no idea what a Boneyard match was. Turns out it's a buried alive match that has really excellent cinematography. That's what a Boneyard match is. The Undertaker defeats AJ Styles. I don't know if this is American Badass or Big Evil Undertaker. They always kind of blended for me, but it is the Undertaker.
This is Mark Calloway. It's Mark Calloway.
Yeah, based on all the talking he was doing, I guess for the first time, this really is Mark Calloway. And the build that they had to this, they made it very personal. They made it about him. And all right, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with the obvious. It's not wrestling.
No, it's not. Not even close. It's a great TV, it's a great fight scene in a TV show or a movie. If they did a movie about The Undertaker, I would have loved this as one of the fight scenes in it. But it's certainly not wrestling. But I mean, it's just so weird. But I think it's what Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn, his TV guy, have always really wanted to do. They wanted to make movies and TV shows. But for whatever reason, Vince hates wrestling so much that he doesn't want to leave wrestling behind because he's afraid somebody might pick up and do wrestling again. So he has to guard the gates of hell and not allow wrestling to escape and just do this stuff whenever he can. That's how I feel about that anyway. Overall, I liked it a lot, but it doesn't need to be in the middle of my wrestling show.
I think in any other show, I would definitely agree with that statement. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was novel. I thought it was unique. It was when we were talking about this and we were talking about bringing in movie-like elements, cinematic elements. This is the type of thing I wasn't imagining. I was kind of hoping, because I'm more of a dead man Undertaker guy, and I was hoping for more of that character. But this is probably actually the first time I really liked the American Badass. What entertained me the most, well, there was a lot that entertained me about this match. I acknowledge right away that there is no way that this is wrestling. And you said something earlier when we were prepping for this that I absolutely agree with. You can't sell this in a normal pay-per-view. This isn't okay. If you've got a paying audience, it's not okay to make them sit there and watch something for 20 or 30 minutes that's pre-recorded, even though they do that with the darn Pirates of the Caribbean hype package anyway. But it's not okay. If this had been at the stadium, it wouldn't be okay to do this.
No.
But they ended up getting really, really inventive in a bad situation, which I always applaud. And they thoroughly entertained me, which I think speaks to one of the issues that you always bring up about Vince McMahon. And I agree. It's not wrestling. It's sports entertainment. He has succeeded now in winning over a grand portion of the population between this and the Firefly Funhouse match, which we'll talk about when we get to night two, because this was a fantastic thing. I keep wanting to say match. It's definitely not a match. I'm not going to call it that. Both guys played their characters really well. You have the opening. The first spot, I think, is great. You have the Undertaker's Dead Man music playing while a hearse rolls in and druids take the casket out, and then immediately the music switches to AJ's music, and it's AJ Styles in the casket. Like that was a great moment. Taker's entrance on the bike, the way that they put their names up on the screen, everything was very movie quality. It was entertaining throughout. I love that the Undertaker accidentally put his hand through a hearse window.
He made a comment, "You made me cut my arm," or something like that, and then and then it continues on. But AJ didn't say anything.
Oh, see, I wonder if they're fixing some things on the fly here, because you also mentioned some punch sound effects when you were watching that I didn't notice first.
Very subtle, because I think I jested to you. If they're going to do all of this, why not just add in the punch sound effects, the whoosh that you get in movies and stuff. And then I started listening really closely, and they were adding sort of these thumps to the punches that were kind of subtle, but it was definitely there. And oh man, this. And again, like I said, it's not. I do agree that it was entertaining. I think what they could have cut out of it was throwing in the supernatural nonsense at the end of it. The Undertaker teleported, and then he cast fire down upon everybody. So that I thought that made it a little silly. When I feel like they filmed it in a very serious manner, and you were meant to take it seriously. You were meant to think that this is just going to be a fight a meet me out in the parking lot kind of fight. So I think they undercut themselves a little bit with that. But yeah, and I agree that this was fine for the situation with the virus and quarantines and everything like that. My fear is that Vince is just going to be like, people love this, so now this is all I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. We're just going to do this over and over again and ram it down your throat. Every week there's going to be some sort of pre-filmed fight up on the network. I just feel like it's gonna. I feel like it's just going to snowball out of control.
Well, I think unfortunately that's the price that gets paid when something unique goes very well. And hey, none other than the great Mick Foley got on Twitter immediately after this aired and said, "Mr. McMahon, I want to be in next year's Boneyard match." So
no.
So I think now that it's happened, they're going to find a way to make it stay. And here's the thing: if they can keep it, my feeling is if they can keep it sparing and make it an opportunity to use guys like The Undertaker, guys that can still physically move, but can't really hold themselves up in a ring in front of other people at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way. I think Stone Cold would be absolutely wonderful at these type of things. We can't put him back in a ring, but I think you could have a build to something, and you could make it special release on the network, or But all in all, if you take those kind of ramifications out of it, I loved this. I thought it was great, given what they had to work with, the virus and everything. I thought this was great.
Yeah, I will say I didn't, as a purist, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it. But I am worried about the ramifications of it. And, we'll just have to see where it goes. All
right. So that's night one of WrestleMania. All right. Gun to your head. You got to give it a letter grade, school style. What are you giving night one of WrestleMania?
C-. I would give it a C-. I think it dragged out way too long, and it's like I said in our preview, WrestleMania is typically sifting through a bunch of stuff to get to the gems. Specifically in this, the gem came pretty early, but I think it was Baszler Lynch, without a doubt, stole the show. And everything else, in my opinion, was just trying to keep up to that standard, and nothing really did.
All right, wow, you're going to be a lot tougher on this than I am. I'm going high on this one. I'm giving night one of WrestleMania a B+. I think my expectations honestly were a lot lower, and again, I was turned off right from the onset because I felt like Kairi Sane wasn't into their match. She had a couple botches, and I was very worried And also they were playing to the non-existent crowd, like you said before. So I was very worried. And then
Yeah.
From that point on, things continued to exceed my expectations, which I think left me with a very good taste in my mouth. Um, Again, I have to make mention of an entire episode we did on whether this should have happened or not.
Right.
But all that aside, so far we're one night into this, and WWE took a gamble, and it's paid off for them. And we will talk about night 2 next episode. Night 1 of WrestleMania. We are going to cheers. We are going to pour one out, and then we're going to take the bottle and chuck it at someone. So I'm gonna start here. WWE Creative. They were given a rough spot to deal with. They sent a crew out to build a set that only took them a week. They used all local cinematography talent to film the Boneyard match, and by everyone's account, Styles and Taker and all the WWE people were great to work with. Cheers to Creative for pulling off the Boneyard match.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I think if you know where I'm going, I have to cheers to Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler for one of the best matches I've seen in a long time, especially out of the WWE product. It's just solid all the way around. I got invested in it. I actually found myself worrying about Becky Lynch at certain points in the match. Was able to suspend my disbelief, and they made me feel like a little kid watching wrestling again. And the both of them, I mean, Lynch is already a star, but Baszler's got such a future, and she's just a joy to watch. So I'm cheersing them. Here's to those girls.
Hear, hear. All right, I'm pouring one out, and I am pouring one out for Bill Goldberg. It's over, buddy. I'm pouring one out for you because you're done, you're buried. You don't need to do this anymore. You know what? Let them dress up one of those. If Vince feels like doing good by a WCW guy, let them do one of those nice cinematic matches between like you and Stone Cold or something like that. But as far as in the ring, I don't want to see it anymore. You had your big comeback after the botch fest with Taker. It's over, buddy. I'm pouring one out for you. Thank you for 20 plus years of great entertainment.
Yeah, I agree with that one, but I do have another place to pour out the bottle on, or pour out this glass on. I'm not going to waste a whole bottle, but I'm pouring one out for Asuka. And the reason I'm doing that is because I told you what my hopes were, is that they're going to move her back into the singles circuit, but I know they're probably not going to do that. I don't think they're going to push her. I think that she just came into the WWE as such a powerhouse, as such a phenomenon. And if Shinsuke Nakamura was a larger part of the show, I probably could include him in on this, because they did the same thing to him. And just these poor people that they're burying, and they have no idea how to use them, and they have no idea how to get them over and keep them strong. And Asuka's one of the best talents I've seen in a long time that they're just completely clueless on what to do with. So I'm pouring one out for her. I feel really bad for her.
Pouring one out. Well, you know what? Now it's time to chuck the bottle. And I'm chucking the bottle at her tag team partner, Kairi Sane.
Yeah. Go ahead. Chuck that bottle.
Unless there's something here we don't know about, which I'm always gonna put out as a possibility, but it looked to me like Kairi Sane got opening match for WrestleMania. I don't care if there are fans in the building or not. There are people watching all over the world. This is a great opportunity. You phoned it in. She botched. Her entrance. She didn't dance or sell her entrance, which she always normally does. She's always fantastic. The two of them are dynamos entering arenas. It's great.
Yeah.
Kairi Sane was boring from the moment she walked out there. We don't know everything. I should say this. I hope she's all right. I say the throw the bottle all in fun because she was the one downside here. But that's my throw the bottle moment.
I'm throwing my bottle right at Baron Corbin. I am sick of this guy. I can't stand him. It's not heel heat. It's just he's bad. He's obnoxious. He dresses like waiters and guys at the Groundhog Day parade. I'm sick of this guy. They obviously don't know what to do with him. There's no good storyline to put him in. He doesn't have any sort of charisma, whether it be for heat or for sympathy or anything. Poor Elias, who does have some sort of charisma, Elias couldn't get anything out of him, meaningful or good. I'm sick of this guy. I'm throwing my bottle right at him, right at his head, knock that stupid Game of Thrones crown right off his head.
Well, there you have it. That was night one of WrestleMania. Stay tuned, because quickly on the heels of this video, we'll be releasing our night 2 review, which we're actually going to get into right now. But until then, he's Tony.
He's the law.
We'll see you for part 2.
Yeah, cheers, everybody.